Well, the situation continues to deteriorate for the Americans. However, they have significantly damaged the British 1st Brigade. And I actually thought the damage was worse than what it was until I realized I had overcalculated these American troops here. I had overcalculated the strength of the A light infantry battalion by half because I'd forgotten they were disordered. So that actually reduces their fire strength by half when they're disordered. So there was a case here, I think, with this unit where they would not have lost 2 points in the course of the firefight. So I kind of had to retcon that a little bit. So that gave the British a break. Otherwise, they would have had both this unit, which I think is the 49th Regiment of Foot, and over here, the 4th Regiment of Foot. Both of these units would have been down to 1 strength point. As you can see here on the British loss charts, just a devastating amount of damage. And I think, they've had 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. So they're actually up to, at the top of the turn, I just finished the 1040 turn. So we're actually, moving up to the 11 a.m. turn. And at the top of the hour now, they've hit that 15-point threshold for the Army loss. So now they have to take their first Army loss morale check. And I would think that the idea would be not to have the British at a point where they need to make an Army morale check after having only engaged Maxwell's 3 light infantry battalions. The fact that these 3 light infantry battalions and 2 battalion guns managed to wipe out almost an entire brigade is just kind of, I sense that it's probably disastrous for the British. I'm not sure if this is something they'll be able to recover from, because if they can't handle close quarters fighting with 3 light infantry battalions, what are they going to do when they get over here and they've got the bulk of the American army to actually engage with in fortified positions with artillery? Now, this leads me to believe that, and I had no idea how combat was going to work in this. I thought the British would be much better in close quarters firefight. I couldn't close combat my way through because of the entrenchments here. The American position was entrenched, and I just set the entrenchment markers over there because I know they're entrenched and they were just getting in the way. But that caused, close combat to be basically impossible. Until I guess that once I'd gotten around on their flank, I probably could have tried a close combat, but the guys in front still would have been at very reduced strength trying to close combat there. So I felt it was better just to shoot my way through. The problem is that I rolled poorly for the Brits. I think on my first round of shooting, even once I had them surrounded and outflanked, I rolled like a 14, a 17, and a 21. On the two, basically on the 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 odds tables, which is still nothing. And then the Americans would respond, on the 1-to-1 table, and they'd roll like a 90. And that happened multiple times. So just incredible rolling by the Americans just devastated the British 1st Brigade. Fortunately, the damage has only been limited to the British 1st Brigade. I think the Queen's Rangers lost a unit. Stearns, Hessians back here are all untouched, and the 2nd Brigade is untouched. But the question is, should I have done what the Brits did historically, which was deploy along the road and bring up the artillery and just shoot it out with guns? My concern was deploying on the road here gives opportunity fire to that artillery battery that's there with in Maxwell's position. And so that, could have led to the way I was rolling. Felt like that was leading to too many losses already. Just the opportunity fire shots that the Americans were hitting the British with felt like too much already. So I felt like I needed to get guys up here in their EZOCs to block that opportunity fire. And the result was that two of these regiments got completely destroyed. They're still on the map, but they each only have. Well, I think this guy has 3 steps. He's got 1 step left. So, the 4th Regiment of Foot here is going to end up dead, and I probably should have moved their commander off and onto there. The other thing that happened this past turn was Grant here got wounded. He was in this hex here, and the Chester County Militia was here. The Chester County Militia got destroyed in the last turn, as I had suspected they would. But Grant was here, Chester County Militia was there. I think I got a return fire result, and on the return fire, Grant got wounded. But it was just for 3 turns. So by the 11 a.m. turn, he is now back, because that was at 10 a.m. So the 11 a.m. turn, he's returned. And the second, the rest of the 2nd Brigade is here in column, waiting to head up here to the ford. And Stern's Hessians are already moving around. That was the drawback, is that they have to work their way over this little ridge here through some woods to get over to the road. Since up here, as you can see, Chad's Ford is blocked from crossing, so this is actually their easier crossing point. So they are continuing to move on around. I mean, it is only a matter of time before Maxwell's 2 remaining battalions are destroyed, but they're going to take at least 1 British regiment with them, possibly 2, if not more. And I just don't think that's at all good for the British to have lost 2 full British regiments to a couple of light infantry battalions. So, in retrospect, I think moving up and engaging these guys was probably a bad idea. I probably should have deployed all the artillery that I have for the British and just tried to gun it out with them, especially given the forthcoming flank attack and the fact that the Americans would probably end up wanting to displace just to get Maxwell back with the rest of the army. But instead I realized, hey, I'm doing so much damage to him. I'm going to stay here and just make him have to deal with it. And that's actually pretty good, because there's no way where the British come in at up here on this road. There's nowhere for them to go to get to this road down here. As you can see, there's this big hill here. In fact, it's a peak, wooded peak, between these 2 roads, and the only road is right here in front of the American position. So, if I wanted to try and get around and cut off the Americans, there's no way that I could move my troops along here without taking just withering opportunity fire from that gun battery. So if I deploy the British artillery, say in a couple hexes here, first of all, that artillery is getting nailed by artillery fire on the way up the road. Secondly, there's only so many clear hexes here I could actually unlimber my artillery in. And then, how long is it going to take to actually reduce that? And it's not blocking opportunity fire for other units coming down this road. So it's just a really difficult position to get around with the British. And, the way I was rolling on the opportunity fire on those 2 artillery guns there, I just felt like I had to get up there and just deal with those guys. Otherwise, I was going to lose 6, 7, 8, maybe not as many as the 15 that I've lost, but, certainly as many as 8 to 10 steps just from opportunity fire from those 2 guns. So I had to get up there and deal with it. So I'm not really sure how the best way to deal with that would have been. Historically, the artillery shot it out, and then I think, and I haven't read all the background notes, so I don't remember if the other British forces tried to go this way or this way, but I know Maxwell ended up displacing because he was afraid of getting cut off from the crossings. So I think the British may have tried to sneak around this way historically while the guns were dueling it out. I just don't see how I could have done that, even with the guns dueling, without taking opportunity fire losses on my infantry units. So I don't know. I guess maybe risking the opportunity fire, maybe I could have just planned it that the Americans would just, that their hot rolls would cool off, and then I would be able to move a lot easier without taking more opportunity fire losses. But those initial losses were just so jarring, and then the fact that this first brigade unit here routed out of road column immediately, sort of panicked me, and so I felt like I had to deploy everybody and then just engage, as opposed to maybe just deploying people into line and getting them off the road and just taking a long march over this wooded ridge here to get over to the parallel road. I don't know, but the end result now is that the Brits are going to be making an army morale check much earlier than I think they would have wanted to, just because the British, the first brigade is almost just destroyed as a fighting unit. So we'll see. That's going to have an effect on how effective Kniphausen's pinning engagement is going to be with the rest of the army here while Cornwallis makes his flank attack. The other thing I sort of misread on the rules for the unfreezing of the American units. I was thinking that starting at 10 a.m., which was the 3 turns ago, that an American command would unfreeze starting at 10 a.m. and every turn thereafter. Not true. It's actually an American unit unfreezes, which seems almost worthless to me. Like, what would be the point of unfreezing a single unit? It can't move away from the rest of its command. So I didn't exactly understand the point of why it was just one unit, but I ended up moving. Actually, I think I already have moved. Yeah, I ended up moving most of Sullivan's command here, which is this artillery. There's an infantry here, and then 2 infantry up here. I ended up starting to move them up the road, and then realized, it was only a unit. So, by the 11 o'clock turn, I would have only unfrozen 3 units. So what I ended up doing was I unfroze these 2 infantry, and then on this last turn had them march up the road, and then unfroze the artillery back here so I could get them limbered and facing the right direction. And then for the 11 a.m. turn, I'll unfreeze the final infantry unit in what the first brigade is. Generic. Another one of these generic no-name commanders for the first. Basically, it's the 1st Maryland Brigade in Sullivan's command. Sullivan himself is actually right here, and he will probably end up moving part of the way up this road. I need to move him somewhere so that this commander remains in command, and then the other unit in his command back here, or the other brigade in his command back here, so that they're all in command. Fortunately, this is all stretched along a road, so I get that road movement for the brigade commander there, or that for the purpose of determining command, so they can be a little farther away from each other on a road than they would if they were on regular terrain. So up to 11 a.m. now we start unfreezing, and I'm not sure if the Americans change. I need to look this up. Exactly at 11 a.m. one division of the American. So starting in the 11 a.m. turn, one division of the American players choosing is unfrozen. Yeah, it was in the 11 a.m. turn, one infantry unit of Sullivan's division is unfrozen, and the rules aren't really super clear on whether it is turn by turn. It just says First of all, it says a 10 p.m., which is a typo, since this battle obviously doesn't go that late. So in the 10 a.m. turn and thereafter, one infantry unit of Sullivan's division of the Americans' players choosing is unfrozen. But it doesn't say, I assumed by the and thereafter it means that at every turn, so at 10:20 and 10:40, another infantry unit unfreezes. That's the way I'm choosing to read it. I'm assuming that's correct. Here it'll be the same way. I'm assuming that at 11 a.m. a division unfreezes, and then at 11:20 another division, 11:40 another division, and then you can see down here by 2:20 p.m. All remaining American units and leaders are unfrozen. So it's going to happen just step by step by division, for the remainder of all these forces down here for the Americans. So right now, it's just a couple of units in Sullivan's command. What I'll probably do for the 11 a.m. turn is just unfreeze the rest of Sullivan's command here, so that I can get them all moving up towards the Birmingham Hill, where they're going to end up having to deal with Cornwallis's march coming in up there, where the counter tray is currently covering. So that's where things stand. It's just been kind of a mess for the Brits, with their commander getting wounded, a couple of units already almost dead, taking army morale checks. Just not a very good confrontation with Maxwell's brigade. On the other hand, Maxwell is going to end up dead and or captured. There's no way for him to get out of there. If his units rout, they'll end up getting eliminated. They are already shaken and disordered. The problem is they still have, I think they have 3 steps left, and then the American B and light infantry there, that's got Ferguson's rifle corps next to him. They're not damaged at all. I think they've only taken 1 hit. So they're still at full strength. They're going to end up eliminating the 4th Regiment of Foot. But I think, I've got enough 2nd Brigade units there to deal with them too, and they may end up routing if the A light infantry ends up routing. So, once I get that little pocket sort of cleared out, then I can move a little more freely with all this British artillery that's coming up. You can see back there along the road, the commander there, that's Cleveland. He's the special artillery commander for the army, for the British army, and what he can do is actually command all of these field batteries, and you can attach him to any command. So whenever you activate any command, you can activate him as well, and he can move all of these field batteries. And those are the main sort of heavy artillery of the Brits, and then the Hessians each regiment of Hessians has their own battalion guns, which have slightly different rules than field guns. So they'll have a lot of artillery to deal with, to be able to duel with the Americans. But at this point, getting into position, and then how much healthy infantry am I going to have left to deal with the American position? So we will have to see, if I can effectively deploy the Brits once I take care of this American position, but not great for the Brits so far.